they're going to come into this game, I would imagine, and think that they're going to be able to just move the ball down the field. If the Packers can give them trouble, it really does come down to, can Jair Alexander stop CeeDee Lamb enough times? Can Quay or combination of who do a good job against Jake Ferguson? Can our defensive line win their one? Can Terrence Steele get beat by Rashawn Gary enough times where Dak, 3 sacks, thinking about him all day? Can Preston beat Tryon Smith? Can Kenny get on their center? I mean, there's things that can happen in this game. There's a path to victory for sure. Let's talk about matchups. Number one, let's talk Packers safeties versus the run. So I just showed you. I think Green Bay is going to really struggle to hold them under 5 yards per carry unless you add a player into the box. You put 6 in the box against like a nickel look with these guys, and you're donezo, man. They're too good. Run fits are going to be super important. You can't let Pollard get in the open space. He's an elite level athlete. I know he hasn't had the season that he maybe thought he was going to have, being the number one guy. But I think more importantly than that, you have to take some of the play action pass mystery out of their offense. Like the play action pass mystery, eyes in the backfield is a real problem for defenses against the Dallas Cowboys. Got to get rid of that. Got to put them in obvious dropback situations so you can call the defenses you want to call. Number two, Jordan Love versus the Dallas corners. And Ron Bland, he was leading candidate for Defensive Player of the Year until halfway through the season, leading the league in picks. They play off coverage. They're opportunistic as hell. They think their pass rush is going to get there. Dan Quinn, he preaches, hey, it's a two-part deal. You got to cover, you got to rush, right? The rush helps the cover helps the rush. They do a great job of sitting on routes, jumping routes, and making plays. They were doing it with Diggs last year. They're doing it with Bland this year. Stephon Gilmore's a pro's pro. You have to be able to hold safeties with your eyes. You see that there's one-on-one matchups when you have those single safety high man looks. Like there's matchups that can be had, whether it's the linebacker or the corners. Those guys get open, but you have to be able to put the ball into space on time, and guys got to come up and make plays for your quarterback. Number three, Dallas, the defensive line, our defensive line versus Dallas offensive line. Talked about this. This is the matchup of the day. This is absolutely, for me, the matchup of the day. The playoff games are won in the trenches. Can this defensive line outperform individually? Like, can they win their one-on-one matchups against a good Dallas group? Can they force Dak into those bad decisions? I showed that pick against Detroit, right? It's step up in the pocket, step back in the pocket, run right, make it, miss the guy in the middle of the field. Those are the things that have to happen, I think, in order. Those are the matchups that need to be won in order to and to have a really good chance of winning this weekend. A couple of keys to victory. Number one, Aaron Jones touches. This guy's been lighter fluid. I just keep calling him lighter fluid until it sticks. The Dallas Cowboys play great against lesser competition. Really just a middle-of-pack team against the run. I think they're 16th in the league, 112, 116 yards per game. I think Aaron Jones needs to get 20 touches in the running game. Now, if you can get him in the screen game, you put him out in the wide receiver, run the slant again for the first down, great. 20 touches in the running game, averaging 5 yards a carry. If they are going to put 205-pound linebackers in the game on a 6-man box, dude, you have to be in a position from a score standpoint to run the football, but you have to be willing to run it. I would bet that Dan Quinn is going to say, I'm confident that you won't run the ball all the way down the field. I know you're going to try your 5-yard outs. I know you're going to try your end arounds. Maybe we'll call that a run game. I know you're going to try all this other little stuff. I don't think you'll put the ball downhill against my 6-man box 10 times in a row to score a touchdown. Got to be second and manageable. Got to be third and manageable against this Dallas pass rush. If you watch the Commanders game through its entirety, in the fourth quarter, they got I'm exaggerating, but they got 5 sacks in 5 plays, or 6. It was 5 sacks in 6. It was ridiculous. It was literally sack, 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 sack. Because at that point, you've got dudes, all those guys can rush the passer, not just Lawrence and Parsons. All of them could. They bring in their backups. Those guys can rush the passer. What's his name? The Fowler Jr. He was the first-round draft pick for the Jaguars back in the day, I believe. I mean, all these guys are players. Sam Williams, player. Chauncey Golston, player. Dorrance Armstrong, pretty good. I've scouted these guys multiple times this year. It's not just those, like, all their dudes are good, man. 54 is good. 54 is no joke. Dante Fowler is 56, no joke. If you get them all in the field at the same time because it turns into one of those games, man, you feel bad about yourself after the game. Number 2, stay in your lane and play downhill. You saw what the Lions were doing from a run game standpoint against against this team. They lead the league in points, and they're 5th in the league in yards. And the reason for it, for me, it's not because they're a dominant running team, It's because they do such a good, like, they're good enough at the run. And Dak and Mike McCarthy it's like, that's one of his things. They're so good at play action pass. You see corners peeking in the backfield all day, and then like Ferguson, they're too good, and they've got guys like Michael Gallup is still there, Brandon Cooks is still there. I'm naming 2, but all their guys are talented. So Brandon Cooks is one of the best guys you've never heard of. He's been to like 7 teams. He's good everywhere he goes. He's in Houston. He's good everywhere he goes. Michael Gallup's he's just a good knock. He's never gotten to great yet. All these guys have speed. They're all good. And if you're going to peak in the backfield because that play action pass game, it's a problem. You see it against every single team. It's a problem. You got to communicate. You see when they had the wide open running back on the flare look because they didn't switch that out right. Just a very simple 3-by-2 look. Screw it up. And zone defense. Linebacker makes a mistake. Like, you can't have that. You got to play in the playoffs. Mistakes are magnified. You got to play a mistake-free football game. Have to communicate in the second level. And then 3, trade body shots early with the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are going to come into this game and go, you know what? We are better than their defense. We're going to run the football, play action pass, hit CD, hit Gallup, hit Ferguson. Brandon Cooks going to catch a touchdown at 5-yard stick route. Like, this is what they're thinking. And we're going to get up points, and they're going to unleash the hounds. And we don't think their offensive line is going to hold up against our defensive pass rush. That's what they're thinking. The Green Bay Packers have to hold the Dallas Cowboys to field goals early, right? They're going to move the football. You don't want them to move the football, but they're going to move the football, hold them to field goals, and then, like, Jordan Love and this team, they have to be coming into this game supremely confident they can move the ball against anybody, man. And I know they only put up 17 last week, 17 last week. But division opponent, blah, 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 blah. Like, this Dallas Cowboys team, to me, is defensively, you've got to be able to move the football, put up points. And especially with the guys that we have on off, like our wide receiver room, if you really think about our wide receiver room, is there a room in the league without a number 1 guy? Christian Watson's hurt, by the way. That is younger and more overall talented. You feel good about what they're doing, and everyone's rowing in the right direction. Is there a better room in the league? I'm not saying they're not the best wide receiver room in the league. What I'm saying is, for all first and second year guys, for what Wicks and Reed and Bo Melton, for what those guys have been able to do with Dobbs, Watson's out. Don't forget Tucker Kraft in that conversation with Musgrave out too. But what they've been able to do and how confident they're playing, like the difference, the level of development between week 4 and now, like I don't even know who the wide receivers coach is for Green Bay Packers. Like, he should be up for offensive coordinator, right? Like, aren't we trying to find guys who can develop talent? Like, who does it better than that? And this guy's, if it's Matt, unbelievable job. Obviously, they're putting in a lot of work. We talked about it before, putting in work with the quarterback, but they're on the same page. They're playing so well. So the Packers need to keep using their motion looks, spacing, take advantage of Dallas's those soft off coverage plays, whether it's zone, whether it's single safety. And then you have to be able to ID pressure when it's coming. And you can do all of that through offense. I think Jordan's going to have a really good feel of what's coming at him. I think you're going to be able to make a lot of pre-snap judgments on plays. I don't think DQ's going to – like, DQ's from Seattle, man. They're not trying to mess with you, right? DQ's a Pete Carroll guy. Like, they're not trying to – it's not smoke and mirrors. They're going to play their stuff better than you play your stuff. They have some change-ups, but they play their stuff better than you play your stuff. So you just have to be confident you can execute at a high level. It's going to be this is going to be a fun game. The thing about this game, if I'm just being objective here, this game could be a Packers win. This game could be a 7-point loss. This game could be this Dallas Cowboys team, if they get up 2021 and force you into a situation where you have to block DeMarcus Lawrence, Dante Fowler Jr., Micah Parsons, Dorrance Armstrong, Sam Williams. If they're just going rotate, it turns into a tough game. I think the Packers defense is going to be able to, body shot for body shot with this offensive line and group. I think you take advantage of where you can take advantage of. You have 63 at center is not a world beater against Kenny Clark. You don't know what the health level is of both their guards. You assume Zach Martin's going to be back. Not 100% sure on Tyler Smith. Terrence Steele is a player that, quite frankly, Rashawn Gary should beat the majority of the time. And he's got to. You have to find that matchup that is going to be the difference maker in the game on defense, and that could be it. Now he hasn't had the last 4 or 5 games for whatever reason. Is it injury? Is it something else? He hasn't had those numbers, and he hasn't had those pressures, quite frankly, that Preston's having as far as success against really good players on the other side. But you want to look at that matchup and go, I feel pretty good about this one. And I feel pretty good that I can get Dak off the spot. And if Dak runs downhill, he's great. If he runs sideline to sideline, he's not. Just like most other quarterbacks in the National Football League. So going to be a fun one to watch. And I think we should all be thrilled that the NFL was kind enough to not put it on Peacock, so we don't have to do anything different to watch this game. Again, if you're enjoying, hit that subscribe button, like, rate, and review me. Give me a question. I'll answer the questions during the course of the weekend before the game on YouTube. If you hit me up on Mike Wall 68 on Instagram or on X. Have a good one, guys.